There was a time when battleships like the Yamashiro ruled the seas, their presence striking fear into enemies. As technology advanced, these ironclad giants faded, relics of an era defined by steel and cannon fire. Yet, history has a way of resurrecting its legends. Against expectations, the Yamashiro has risen once more. What does it mean for global naval power that this formidable battleship is back in action? Let us discover the surprising rebirth of this maritime titan in the Battleship Resurrected and heavily weaponized against all odds. The legendary Yamashiro Battleship. The age of battleships was a time when battles were fought at the seaside. Steel dominated the oceans, and many countries' fates were decided at waterfronts. Naval states fought with massive ships armed with cannons for reuse. Ports were alive with sailors, merchants, and strategists. Their roles were vital, and naval power now dominated empires. The age saw a boom in ships and sea weapons. However, the Yamashiro battleship stood tall as a proud emblem of the Imperial Japanese Navy. It embodied the formidable essence of the Fuso class battleships. This floating fortress was more than a vessel in its original design. It was the peak of naval engineering at the time. This epic battleship was launched in 1916 and commissioned in 1917. Yamashiro aimed to revolutionize naval warfare, showcasing new technologies that would change the battlefield. This majestic ship measured an impressive 223 meters in length, and hoisted on it is a beam of 32 meters. It weighs approximately 38,000 tons when fully loaded. Its big size commanded respect on the high seas. The Yamashiro was equipped with 12 14-inch main guns, arranged in 4 triple turrets, a design that not only enhanced its firepower, but also allowed for improved targeting capabilities during engagements. In addition to its main guns, the battleship's secondary armament included 16 6-inch guns and multiple smaller caliber weapons. This diverse arsenal enabled it to defend against both surface and air threats effectively. Yamashiro's beauty was more than skin deep. It had armor, thick in places, to withstand enemy fire while staying agile at sea. Its dual-funnel design made it look good. It also optimized its steam propulsion system. Yamashiro could sail vast distances quickly. Its top speed was around 24 knots. This speed allowed it to engage in critical operations swiftly. The Yamashiro battleship is detailed in the history books and played a vital role in shaping naval warfare dynamics during its era. Each wave it sliced through echoed tales of power and determination. It stood ready for battle, and not only for the progress in design, but also outlined Japan's desire for naval supremacy. The Yamashiro battleship was a key part of Fourth Fleet naval warfare. This strong, invulnerable ship symbolized Japan's power and progress. It was a time when Japan sought to dominate the seas. It was a symbol of the Imperial Japanese Navy's aspiration. This was at a time when naval might define diplomacy. It was a commissioning of no ordinary ship. It was the start of a new strategy. A new system would soon spread its influence across global naval operations. Since it began, Yamashiro has taken part in various tests. They checked its effectiveness and boosted its reputation. Its first tasks were routine training and fleet maneuvers. They aimed to improve cohesion among naval forces. The battleship quickly earned respect from naval strategists. They observed its advanced design, with better armor and firepower. Strategists then saw Yamashiro as a game changer. It could take on formidable foes with its speed, agility, and firepower. Technological advancements were integral to Yamashiro's design. The ship had an array of weapons. It included 14-inch guns and powerful turrets. They allowed for long-range strikes against enemy ships. This firepower was revolutionary in the early 1900s. It set the stage for future battleship designs worldwide. Also, advances in steam turbine engines allowed for greater speed than many ships of the time. Such innovations placed Yamashiro at the forefront of maritime technology during its era, captivating both allies and adversaries alike. Early missions and reputation building. In those early years, Yamashiro took part in joint exercises with other ships in the Imperial Japanese Navy. They fine-tuned tactics that would define naval battles for decades. Each maneuver showed its capabilities. It also trained its crew on effective combat in a changing maritime mission. This understanding would prove invaluable as global tensions escalated, leading to World War II. These early years laid a foundation that made Yamashiro a key part of Japan's naval strategy. This battleship was beyond a giant boat. It was an embodiment of innovation and strategy. It shaped Japan's military future and influenced global maritime practices. Such groundwork paved the way for new battleship designs. Nations scrambled to modernize as threats loomed on the horizon. Yamashiro's legacy began here. Each mission reinforced its stature. It made its space in history much earlier than in achieving milestones that put it to the test in pressure times. In the early morning of September 1st, 1923, one of the misfortunes fell upon Japan: the Great Kanto earthquake. Generating a seismic force of 7.9 magnitude, the earthquake wrought disaster across Tokyo and Yokohama, taking lives and properties along the way. This was not just a quake that disturbed the structures. This was a quake that shook Japan to its core. Many sectors responded to it, and in some cases desperately, such as the Imperial Japanese Navy. Sequel to the earthquake, the situation was disastrous. People sustained burns in the fire that was caused by the explosion of pipelines, such as the one shown below, which ripped through the center of devastated neighborhoods. Thousands were injured or trapped under debris. This led to shortages of food and water for survivors. As local authorities struggled to manage the scale of destruction, naval forces mobilized to provide relief efforts. Amidst the chaos, the battleship Yamashiro emerged as an unexpected hero. It was at the Yokosuka Naval Arsenal during this crisis. It was a warship, not a rescue vessel. Yet, when the call for aid went out, the Yamashiro's crew rallied. They joined other naval units to transport medical supplies and food to those in need. They also assisted in search and rescue missions. This change from a battleship to a rescue ship showed its versatility beyond combat. Reinstatement and modernization. In the early 1930s, a political upheaval gripped Japan. This time called for strategic planning in the Imperial Japanese Navy. The story of the Yamashiro battleship takes a fascinating turn in this era. Even though some saw it as an outdated relic, the decision to refurbish and modernize this steadfast vessel was driven by a keen understanding of its potential. The IJN knew that naval dominance depended not only on new ships, but also on improving existing ones. So, with global tensions and a changing military, the Yamashiro underwent major repairs from 1930 to 1935. This modernization period is key to understanding the IJN. It shows how the IJN positioned itself to meet new warfare dynamics. The enhancements were diverse. They focused on armor improvements. This allowed for thicker steel plating in critical areas, like the deck and belt armor. It was to protect against powerful artillery from enemy ships and aerial attacks. Engineers enhanced propulsion systems for greater speed and maneuverability at sea. They integrated high-pressure steam boilers to improve efficiency. Also, as air power grew in naval battles, they added anti-aircraft guns to defend against aerial threats. These extensive renovations transformed the Yamashiro into a formidable contender within the fleet once again. It was no longer just a symbol of past victories. It had been reborn as a ship for modern warfare. As tensions escalated across Asia and Europe leading up to World War II, this refurbishment proved foresightful. Every upgrade was carefully integrated into its design. The Yamashiro stood ready to face future conflicts head-on. Its renewed presence in IJN showed Japan's commitment to its naval power amid rising global challenges. Each change held hopes for glory on unseen battlefronts. It also paid tribute to its storied past. This duality defined the legendary battleship in its renewed service. A tumultuous era loomed. Each clash would test maritime tactics. It would also challenge views on what ships like Yamashiro could do in modern combat. It is important to note that, while the Yamashiro was changing, other battleships like the Fuso class were also being modernized. In hindsight, the IJN's strategic decisions were not isolated. They were part of a global trend in military preparedness, like Finland's during the Winter War, as various historical analyses discuss. Japan versus US. Preparations for World War II. Japan made heavy investments in the Navy, especially in battleships, as it geared up for World War II. This came as a strategic response to the growing tensions in Asia and the Pacific. The Yamato Class battleships were among the most powerful of these vessels, and they witnessed massive rebuild. Japan designed them to assert dominance at sea. The Yamato Class consisted of two ships, the Yamato and its sister ship, Musashi. Launched in a time of rapid change in naval warfare, these ships were the best in battleship design and engineering. Yamato was launched on August 8, 1940, and commissioned on December 16, 1941. Musashi was launched on April 1, 1940, and commissioned on August 5, 1942. The Yamato displaces about 72,000 tons when fully loaded. It is 263 meters long. Its main gun is 9 18.1-inch Type 94 naval guns in 3 triple turrets. Its secondary armament had 12 6.1-inch Type 3 naval guns. Its belt armor was up to 410 millimeters thick, designed to withstand heavy artillery fire. The Yamato battleship was capable of reaching speeds up to 27 knots. Musashi, its sister ship, shared many traits with Yamato, but it had some differences in equipment and history. Together, they were Japan's most advanced battleships. Musashi was in several key battles, including the Battle of Leyte Gulf. It faced overwhelming odds before American forces sank it on October 24, 1944. America, on the other hand, began significant preparations for World War II. The U.S. Navy focused on modernizing its fleet. It wanted to build battleships that could match the expected power of rival navies, especially Japan. Some notable U.S. Navy battleships and their specifications include the USS North Carolina BB-55. In 1941, it commissioned and displaced 36,000 tons, half the size of the Yamato class. It was 728 feet long. It had 9 16-inch guns as its main weapons and 12 5-inch guns as its secondary ones. Other worthy mentions are the USS Washington, BB-56, and USS South Dakota, BB-77. They share the same specs as the USS North Carolina, BB-55. Designers created these ships for firepower, speed, and survivability. This reflects a shift in naval warfare strategy. Japan, in contrast, had already begun its military expansion earlier in the decade. The Imperial Japanese Navy built battleships like the Yamashiro. They prioritized speed and firepower, sometimes at the cost of armor. Japan's naval strategy aimed for a decisive battle. They sought to engage and destroy enemy fleets with their powerful battleships. They also developed aircraft carriers to extend their range. Admiral Thomas Kinkaid was key to the U.S. Navy's Pacific campaigns. He was not directly responsible for the famous quote about Salvo Island. "We didn't want them to pull another Salvo Island on us." But it reflects American fears of being caught off guard by well-coordinated enemy strikes like those in earlier battles. The Battle of Salvo Island exposed flaws in U.S. naval strategy before World War II. Salvo Island refers to earlier conflicts. There, Japanese forces used effective tactics against unprepared U.S. naval units. This battle was a wake-up call for American commanders. They needed better coordination and readiness against surprise attacks by the Japanese. These experiences shaped a crucial turning point in U.S. naval tactics and preparations for World War II. The The U.S. Navy built its fleets and trained its personnel. It deployed its forces in the Pacific theater. It learned from confrontations like Salvo Island. The focus shifted to improving intelligence and coordination among military branches. This aimed to prevent similar failures in future engagements. Yamashiro's role in World War II naval warfare. To get ready for battle, the crew trained hard, focusing on naval gunfire tactics that would be essential during fights. Yamashiro, with its powerful guns and upgraded anti-aircraft weapons, faced its foes with confidence. It was a symbol of Japan's unyielding spirit. The ship's firepower let its crew coordinate attacks and protect other vessels. Many military strategists admired this. As tensions rose in the Pacific, the legendary Yamashiro wasn't just a relic from the past. It had been revitalized and was ready to fight again in World War II naval battles. The Imperial Japanese Navy had modernized it. It was now a powerful, eager force at sea, ready to unleash its might against its enemies. The stage was set for Yamashiro to shine in a key moment in history, the Battle of Leyte Gulf. The Battle of Leyte Gulf in October 1944 was crucial in naval warfare. Yamashiro played a key role in this epic clash. This battle wasn't just about ships and firepower. It showed complex strategies and tactics. They would shape future naval battles. The crew on board Yamashiro knew they were part of something bigger, a revival of pride for Japan's naval heritage. As chaos erupted in the Leyte Gulf fight, battleships like Yamashiro were vital. They countered air assaults and engaged enemy forces. Amidst the turmoil, Vice Admiral Shoji Nishimura led his fleet, determined. He faced relentless American airstrikes and destroyers, intent on crippling Japan's navy. Yamashiro's role was more than just firepower. It became a symbol of Japan's hope in the face of defeat. The ship's crew faced immense pressure. They showed courage and skill as they dodged enemy fire while hitting American ships. Each shell fired was not just ammunition, but a testament to their unwavering commitment to their country. The Battle of Surigao Strait in October 1944 was crucial for both the Yamashiro and the Imperial Japanese Navy. As Japan struggled in the war, the older Yamashiro faced a tough battle. It would test its strength and resolve against overwhelming odds. This battle was one of the last major naval fights involving battleships. It showcased Japan's proud naval history and a threat of defeat. Vice Admiral Shoji Nishimura led the forces that included Yamashiro during this critical engagement. His leadership displayed a blend of calculated strategy and fierce determination under pressure. Nishimura's naval forces tried to break through American defenses. They faced insurmountable challenges. The enemy was well prepared. Their superior air support worried Yamashiro's crew. The ship's strong armor and upgraded weapons were meant to defend against air attacks. But it struggled against the constant assaults from American planes. As the battle unfolded, American forces executed their strategies with precision. Nishimura's fleet encountered a barrage of torpedoes and bombs aimed squarely at them. Yamashiro's guns roared in defiance. They tried to fend off hostile aircraft while also engaging enemy ships. However, despite the crew's brave efforts, American attacks prevailed. Their anti-aircraft weapons were overwhelmed by the sheer number and coordination of the attacks. Each wave seemed increasingly relentless, inflicting damage not just to Yamashiro, but also to the morale of its sailors. As Vice Admiral Nishimura led his forces into battle, chaos reigned. His leadership showed quick decision-making and adaptability under fire. He understood that retreat was not an option. He needed to inspire confidence in his crew even as they faced dire circumstances. Yet, with every passing moment, it became evident that time was running out for Yamashiro. High above, enemy aircraft swooped down like vultures, seeking remnants of a once mighty contender. The battle reached a turning point. Yamashiro suffered severe damage from airstrikes that breached its defenses. The mighty battleship took hits that breached its hull. They severely damaged its ability to operate. Even as fires raged and flooding threatened its structure, the crew's spirit remained. They fought valiantly to keep their ship afloat. Amidst this turmoil, Vice Admiral Nishimura faced external threats and internal strife. It was hard for any commander to face a rapidly worsening situation. His command seemed futile against overwhelming enemies. The eventual downfall of the Yamashiro. October 25, 1944, was a day of chaos and despair for the Yamashiro. The battleship sailed through dark waters near the war-torn Philippines. The crew, experienced but nervous, prepared for what was to come, unaware that a tragic turn of events awaited them. As night fell over the sea, American destroyers moved through the darkness. Their mission was to weaken Imperial Japan's navy. In a carefully planned attack, these nimble ships launched torpedoes into the deep Pacific Ocean. Each torpedo carried not just explosives, but also an ominous sense of impending disaster aimed at Yamashiro. The first torpedo hit Yamashiro's hull with a sickening thud. The impact shook the entire ship, a grim warning of disaster that echoed through its metal structure. Crew members felt the tremor beneath their feet as alarms blared and confusion took over. It wasn't just an assault, it was fear creeping into every part of their once powerful vessel. In quick succession, another torpedo struck its target. It pierced armor meant to withstand fierce attacks. The flooding damage was immediate and devastating. Water-filled compartments that were meant to protect against destruction were turned into dangerous pools, threatening everything in their path. Almost immediately, structural failure started showing itself. The once strong battleship, a symbol of naval strength, now wobbled on the edge of disaster. Bulkheads buckled under pressure. Watertight doors failed to seal off damaged areas. An unstoppable surge of seawater rushed in. Yet amid this chaos, there was a glimmer of hope, a shared determination among those on board to stabilize their beloved warship and fend off doom. Firefighting teams came together in a risky and urgent effort. They worked tirelessly to plug leaks and pump water out. As hours passed, it became painfully clear that survival wouldn't come easily. The ship leaned more dangerously under its own misfortune's weight. Those aboard watched helplessly as their home, once a proud guardian of the ocean, began its descent into history's abyss. The torpedo strikes had badly damaged the Yamashiro. It was now vulnerable and struggling to stay stable. Water poured into its hull like an uninvited guest crashing a party, causing chaos among the crew. A rasping of alarms echoed through the ship as sailors scrambled to save their beloved battleship. With each passing minute, their efforts felt futile. The once mighty warship was succumbing to the ocean's relentless grip. Those final moments were not just about survival. They were laden with nostalgia and reflection. Sailors recalled the Yamashiro's glory days. It fought in key naval battles and showed Japan's naval power. For many aboard that fateful night, it was not merely a ship that was sinking. It was a piece of their identity being swallowed by the sea. They had forged bonds over years of service. They had shared laughter on calm days at sea. Now, they faced the heartbreaking reality of loss. The technique of crossing the T used by America to destroy Yamashiro. Crossing the T was a key naval tactic in World War II. American forces used it against battleships like the Yamashiro at the Battle of Surigao Strait. This tactic involved positioning a fleet to maximize firepower. It also minimized exposure to enemy fire. The essence of crossing the T lies in the formation of a fleet. In this tactic, a line of ships would position themselves perpendicularly to the enemy's line. This setup let American battleships and cruisers fire at the enemy. It kept their broadside mostly shielded from incoming fire. By crossing the T, American vessels could unleash a concentrated barrage of gunfire on enemy ships. Each ship's guns could hit targets at once. This had a devastating effect on enemy formations. For instance, when targeting Yamashiro, American ships could fire all their guns at once. This took advantage of their alignment and range. This tactic also reduced the risk faced by American ships. By keeping a perpendicular angle, they could avoid the enemy's broadside guns. The Yamashiro's great weapons were less effective against a well-placed enemy. It could not use its full arsenal against them. This technique proved highly effective against Yamashiro and Vice Admiral Shoji Nishimura's forces. The U.S. Navy executed meticulous coordination among its ships, approaching Nishimura's fleet with precise timing and positioning. As they crossed Nishimura's line, American battleships opened fire with devastating effect. The initial salvo struck with accuracy. Multiple hits were registered on Yamashiro and other vessels present. In addition to gunfire, American destroyers launched torpedo attacks. This worsened Yamashiro's vulnerability. They struck while she was in a bad position. The T-crossing tactic had severe consequences for Yamashiro. It sank and ended an era for the legendary battleship. Exploring modernization trends in Japanese battleships. Post-Yamashiro era. The Yamashiro battleship story transcends its time. It resonates in naval history. This iconic ship helped Japan at sea. It also improved battleship design and war tactics. After World War II, Japan faced significant challenges in rebuilding its navy. Yamashiro's famous past influenced the modernization of Japanese battleships. Naval architects and strategists knew that Yamashiro's battles held vital lessons. Both her strengths and weaknesses were key. They were vital for designing a new generation of warships. The focus shifted to versatility and adaptability. Future conflicts would need more than raw firepower. An intriguing aspect of this evolution is how wartime experiences shaped design philosophies. Looking ahead, new classes of ships began to emerge. They had advanced technologies and strategic innovations. These included improved radar, better anti-aircraft weapons, and stronger armor. Ships were no longer floating fortresses. They became integrated systems, meant to work within a networked combat framework. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.